Greetings everyone. Hope all of you are having an absolutely fantastic day. Baldur's Gate 3 provides a wealth of races for you to choose from, so I thought some of you would benefit from a breakdown of all their different race features. I'll also cover some of the differences between how Larian has translated the races in BG3 compared to how they work in tabletop. Here at Slandered Gaming, we focus on covering RPGs, so if that kind of content interests you, please be sure to like this video and subscribe for more content. All races come with their own unique list of race features. Sub-races will give you an additional feature on top of what the base race provides. Some races have bonuses that you cannot see on this screen or at level 1 at all, and I will absolutely call out those details. All races provide unique dialogue in the game, but if there's special reactivity I believe you should be aware of, I will call that out. Finally, it should be noted that none of these races provide you with ability points. Instead, regardless of what you choose here, your character can give a +2 bonus to one ability and a +1 bonus to another ability. Alright, let's go through the options starting with Elf. In the tabletop version, Elf provides you with a +2 bonus to dexterity, and then each subclass provides you with a +1 bonus in a particular ability. Consequently, this race gains some flexibility in BG3's ability point system. The first race feature is the same one you'll see for all races, and that's the base movement speed. In their case, it is 9 meters, which is the standard amount. The next feature is Elven Weapon Training, which gives them proficiency in longsword, short bow, and longbow. Longbow in particular is really nice to have, as there are multiple classes missing this proficiency that could make use of the weapon. In tabletop, this feature actually comes from your subclass, but Larian decided to move it here instead. The next feature is Dark Vision, which allows elves to see in the dark up to 12 meters. This is great to have on a character, as darkness can make it difficult to properly see areas when you are exploring, and sometimes dim light will make it harder to hit enemies in combat. Keep in mind 12 meters isn't really far out enough for this to be useful on a ranged character. Also keep in mind there are several ways to deal with dim light, even if you don't have dark vision. Last on the list is Fey Ancestry, which gives you advantage on saving throws against being charmed, and magic can't put you to sleep. Having advantage means you will roll 2 dice to pass the saving throw, and you'll use whichever one is higher. Sleep will incapacitate your character, so it's definitely nice to be resistant against that. Charm only makes it so you cannot attack the person who charmed you, but you can still attack other enemies, so that resistance doesn't help you that much. There's actually one more bonus Elf provides, but you cannot see it here. If you head to skill proficiencies, you'll notice you are proficient in perception, and there will be a little icon letting you know this is due to your race. If you are familiar with DnD, then you know this is due to the racial feature Keen Senses, and they should absolutely have this. But I think it's still weird that Larian makes you dig to see this information. Having proficiency in perception is fantastic, because it's a skill that determines your ability to see traps or hidden items you can interact with, such as weak walls. None of your party members come with proficiency in this skill, so you could potentially fill a hole on the team. Elf comes with 2 sub-races. High Elf gives you 1 cantrip from the wizard spell list. There are multiple great options here regardless of whether or not you're a spellcaster, including Friends, which is going to give you advantage on charisma checks, Mage Hand, which summons a hand that counts as an ally, and Light, which will cause one object or character to illuminate the area around them. Keep in mind, if you select a spell that deals damage, it will scale off your intelligence ability. Your party member Astarion is a High Elf. Wood Elves come with the Fleet of Foot feature, which increases your movement by 1.5 meters. If you are a melee character, this is absolutely useful to have. In tabletop, this sub-race gets Mask of the Wild, which allows them to hide when only lightly obscured. Instead of this, Larian has given them proficiency in stealth, which again you can only see if you happen to navigate to this screen while the sub-race was selected. Wood Elves still retain the bonuses from Elf, so you have proficiency in stealth and perception, along with being faster than most other races. This is a strong choice for melee rogues. Your party member Halfling is a Wood Elf. The next race is Tieflings. Many characters in the game have a very negative view of them, so selecting this option will absolutely provide you with some unique interactions. Keep in mind, if you are sensitive to people reacting to you in a racist manner, this is definitely not an option you should select. The manner in which racism is handled in BG3 has become a pretty heated topic that I'll cover at some point, but not in this video. From a role-playing standpoint, Tieflings are not considered to be inherently evil, so you are free to play this with whatever alignment you like. In the tabletop, Tieflings provide a +2 bonus to Charisma, and you receive a +1 bonus to another ability based on what sub-race you have selected. So once again, you have a little more flexibility than before. Like elves, their base racial speed is 9 meters, and they have dark vision. They also get hellish resistance, which provides resistance to fire damage, causing you to only take half damage from that source. This is fantastic, as it really seemed like enemies love fire more than any other element. Tiefling comes with 3 sub-races that each give you spells as you level up. Asmodeus Tieflings get the Produce Flame cantrip at level 1, Hellish Rebuke at level 3, and Darkness at level 5. Produce Flame can be used to ignite surfaces, otherwise you probably have better damage options. In tabletop, this sub-race gets the Thaumaturgy at level 1, and I am not certain why Larian decided to change it. Hellish Rebuke is a fantastic reaction spell that you can use to punish enemies who damage you. Personally, I never use Darkness because it will most likely affect the vision of your party members and their ability to attack enemies. That being said, when positioned properly, it can be a great defensive spell, making it much harder for ranged enemies to target you. It's also useful if you have a party member who possesses Devil's Sight, since that allows them to see through the darkness normally. Mephistopheles Tiefling gives you Mage Hand at level 1, Burning Hands at level 3, and Flame Blade at level 5. Mage Hand can pull levers, open faraway containers, attack enemies, and it counts as an ally, so you can use it to trigger effects like sneak attack. Sometimes your foes will attack the hand instead of you, which can be very useful. So all in all, it's not crazy, but it's also not a bad spell to have. Same with Burning Hands, which is nice if you are surrounded, but not nearly as good as other evocation options. Finally, Flame Blade gains more damage if you upcast it, and your attack rating scales off Charisma, but you cannot add additional damage with your ability modifier, so its effectiveness is limited. Overall, I think Asmodeus is the better option for an arcane character. Finally, Zerial Tiefling gives you Thaumaturgy at level 1, Searing Smite at level 3, and Branding Smite at level 5. Thaumaturgy gives you advantage on intimidation and performance checks. Depending on how you are role-playing, this might be useful to have. Searing Smite is available once per long rest. You must be within melee distance, and it requires an action, bonus action, and a level 1 spell slot if you want to use it. This will deal 1d6 additional fire damage to the target and mark them to take 1d6 additional fire damage every turn, unless they succeed on a Constitution save. You have to concentrate to keep that effect going, and this is considered a spell cast, so it cannot be used if you are raging as a barbarian. It's cool to have if you are not a paladin, but if you are using that class, then I prefer radiant damage unless I am facing an enemy that is vulnerable to fire damage. Also, smites can be triggered off bonus attacks, so I don't like burning with both my action and my bonus action to do this. Branding Smite also cannot be used while raging. It's available once per rest, and it has the same activation cost, except you need a level 2 spell slot. This ability will deal 2d6 radiant damage and mark your target with light that prevents them from going invisible. It can also be used in melee or at range. You face a ton of enemies that love using invisibility, so this is definitely useful to have. Zerial is heavily referenced throughout the game, so picking this option should provide you with more reactivity. Your party member Karlach is a Zerial Tiefling. The next race is Drow. They are also heavily disliked, but the racism works a little differently than Tieflings because they are equally feared. A big reason for this is they are considered to be rulers of the Underdark, and consequently they get unique interactions with other creatures from that underground landscape. Still, if being disliked simply because of the way you look bothers you, don't pick this option. In the tabletop, Drows get a +2 bonus to dexterity and a +1 bonus to charisma. So once again, the ability points change just gives you more flexibility. They also get Drow magic, which provides dancing lights at level 1, Fairy Fire at level 3, and Darkness at level 5. Dancing Lights is a cantrip that illuminates a 9-meter radius. This lasts for 10 turns and requires concentration to maintain. There are many great concentration spells that really help you in combat, so I would recommend you use the light cantrip instead when you need more illumination. Fairy Fire is a level 1 concentration spell that allows you to cast a light on enemies. If they fail a dexterity save, then they cannot turn invisible and all attacks against them have advantage. This is a fantastic way to make enemies more vulnerable to your party's attacks. We have already discussed Darkness. Drow's base racial speed is 9 meters, and they have Drow weapon training, which provides proficiency in rapiers, short swords, and hand crossbows. Unless you are playing a class that gets a limited amount of proficiencies like Wizard, this isn't very useful, as most of them will likely provide those proficiencies for you anyway. They also get superior dark vision, which allows them to see in the dark up to 24 meters, double the length of regular dark vision, and obviously very useful to have. Having this makes it more viable to play a ranged character who attacks enemies shrouded in darkness. Finally, similar to elves, Drow get Fey ancestry and proficiency in perception from keen senses. In the tabletop, they also get sunlight sensitivity, which is triggered when they are in sunlight and imposes a disadvantage on attack rolls and perception checks that rely on sight. In Baldur's Gate 3, if you play as a Drow, this is not added to your character sheet. However, some Drow NPCs do have this and it can be used against them. There are 2 subclasses to choose from, however, both of them are focused on reactivity and do not add any mechanics. Lullasworn Drow are considered to be pure evil and will give you more dialogue options of that type. The description notes their bright red eyes, but this isn't relevant since you can easily give the other subclass red eyes if you choose. Your party member Minthara is a Lullasworn Drow. Seldarine Drow are considered to be good aligned, and they are at war with the Lullith worshippers. Again, this option will unlock unique dialogue choices for you. Next on the list is humans. Humans are the most common race you see in the game. In the tabletop, they get a +1 bonus to all ability scores, which sounds great, but in practice, the modifier increases are triggered every 2 points, so most builds couldn't really make use of this. Their base racial speed is 9 meters, and they get Civil Militia, which provides proficiency with spears, pikes, halberds, glaives, light armor, and shields. Humans do not get any of these proficiencies in the tabletop version, and it's a huge boon in BG3. Gale and Will are both human party members, and they both have spellcasting classes that do not provide proficiency with shields. Not only do shields increase your armor class by 2, but many of them come with special effects that complement a wide variety of builds. Minx is also a human party member, so you get 3 of them in total. Halberds and similar weapons have a long reach, which meshes perfectly with feats geared around attacks of opportunity. In the tabletop, you could choose to be a variant human who doesn't get a +1 increase to all ability scores. Instead, they can increase 2 ability scores by 1, gain proficiency in 1 skill, and get 1 feat at level 1. In Baldur's Gate 3, humans get human versatility, which does allow you to gain proficiency in 1 additional skill, but you do not get an extra feat. Instead, your carrying capacity is increased by 25. All items you pick up can be sent to camp, and your storage there is infinite. So while I wouldn't call this useless, it's not nearly as useful as having an extra feat would be. Next up, we have the Githyanki. They are very uncommon in Baldur's Gate, so there's unique reactivity in the game when playing as this race. They are also raised in a very rigid military fashion, and you'll get unique dialogue options that reflect this view on life. In addition, they are engaged in a constant war against mind flayers who previously enslaved them. Mind flayers factor heavily into this game, so this will provide you with even more dialogue options and a unique role-playing experience. In tabletop, they can give 1 ability a +2 bonus and add a +1 to another ability just like you can in the game. The difference is they could forego this to increase 3 different scores by 1, but you cannot do that here. I definitely feel like the +2/+1 option is superior, so no big loss there. Githyanki get Astral Knowledge, which provides proficiency in all skills related to one ability until you take a long rest. So for example, you could be a rogue that has proficiency in all intelligence skills like investigation and history. Needless to say, this is very useful and provides a lot of flexibility in what your character can do on a day-to-day basis. They also get Githyanki Psionics, which provides Mage Hand at level 1, Enhanced Leap at level 3, and Misty Step at level 5. We've already discussed just Mage Hand, but Enhanced Leap is very useful, allowing you to triple your jump distance for 1 minute and making it much easier to reach faraway areas. Misty Step is the best movement spell in the game, allowing you to teleport up to 18 meters with a bonus action and a level 2 spell slot. This means you still have your action to do whatever attack you like. Githyanki have a base racial speed of 9 meters. Originally they were introduced to D&D as a subclass of Gith, but over time Wizards of the Coast decided to do away with subclasses and consequently Githyanki changed along with some of their mechanics. In their current tabletop version, selecting this race gives you Psychic Resilience, which provides resistance to psychic damage. Larian decided to remove this and instead give them Martial Prodigy, which is actually a racial feature from the subclass version of Githyanki. Martial Prodigy provides proficiency in short swords, long swords, great swords, light armor, and medium armor. This is fantastic because there are multiple spellcasting classes that do not provide medium armor proficiency. Also, great sword proficiency is great for martial classes that don't provide it, such as clerics and druids. Next on the list is Dwarves. In Tabletop, this race comes with a +2 bonus to Constitution. We'll cover whether or not the ability scores change is affected when we get to the subclasses. They have a base racial speed of 7.5, making them one of your slowest options. They also get Dwarven Combat Training, which provides proficiency with battle axes, hand axes, light hammers, and war hammers. If these weapons fit your playstyle, this is great to have because several classes are missing proficiency in war hammers and battle axes. They also get Dark Vision, which we have already covered. Finally, they get Dwarven Resilience, which gives you advantage on saving throws against poison, and you have resistance against poison damage. I encountered a lot of traps and powerful enemies that deal poison damage, so this is actually great to have. Dwarf comes with 3 subclasses, and the first one is Gold Dwarf. The tabletop version of Gold Dwarves are actually referred to as Hill Dwarves in any setting outside of Faerun, and they provide a +1 bonus to Wisdom. So this option is slightly stronger in BG3, since now you can place a +2 and a +1 bonus on whatever abilities you like. Gold Dwarves get Dwarven Toughness, which increases your hit point maximum by 1, and this will increase every time you gain a level. Obviously, any character focused on tanking or serving as a frontline fighter will benefit from this. The tabletop version of Shield Dwarves are referred to as Mountain Dwarves in any setting outside of Faerun, and they provide a +2 bonus to Strength. Consequently, this subrace has lost 1 ability point, and there's a case to be made it's weaker than its tabletop counterpart. They do still get Dwarven Armor Training, which provides light and medium armor proficiency. As I have already mentioned, getting medium armor proficiency is fantastic. Finally, we have Duergar. Similar to Githyanki, they were previously enslaved by mind flayers and have adopted a harsh, cruel lifestyle. They have spent centuries in the Underdark, and that will provide you with unique dialogue when conversing with similar creatures. In Tabletop, they get a +1 bonus to Strength, so this race isn't negatively impacted by the ability points change. Similar to Drow, the Tabletop version of Duergar gets Sunlight Sensitivity, but you don't have to worry about that. Only some NPCs of this race get that feature. They do get Superior Dark Vision, and we have already covered that it's fantastic. You'll also get Duergar Resilience, which provides advantage on saving throws against illusions and being charmed or paralyzed. As we've already stated, being charmed is no big deal, but there are many enemies that use Whole Person to paralyze you, so this is nice. There are a couple of annoying bosses that make use of illusions, and this might be useful in those fights as well. In addition to all of this, Duergar gets one more feature that you cannot see at level 1. Duergar Magic, which provides Enlarge at level 3 and Invisibility at level 5. Enlarge will visually increase the size of your character and give you an extra 1d4 melee damage. Mechanically, this makes you the size of a human and also means you could throw other dwarves, halflings, or similar creatures. You'll also get advantage on strength checks and saving throws. It does require concentration, which would probably be better used on something like haste, but many characters won't have access to haste, so this is a great option on a melee fighter. Invisibility causes attacks against you to have disadvantage while your attacks have advantage. Invisibility is broken when you fail a stealth check, attack, or cast a spell. This spell requires concentration to use. There are multiple times when being invisible is very useful, so this isn't bad to have, even if you are not playing as a stealthy rogue. Next on the list is Half-Elf. Many characters will point out you are a half of a particular race, sometimes in a very derogatory manner. So again, if you are sensitive to that type of content, especially if you yourself are biracial, this might not be the option for you. In the tabletop version, you get a +2 bonus to charisma, and you can apply a +1 bonus to 2 different abilities. So in BG3, this race loses 1 ability point, but again, a +1 bonus just sitting somewhere probably doesn't help you that much. Half-elves have a base speed of 9 meters. They get Civil Militia, Dark Vision, and Fey Ancestry, all of which we have already covered. In the tabletop version, they do not get Civil Militia, and they only get Elf Weapon Training if you choose the High or Wood Elf subclass. The tabletop version also gets Skill Versatility, which provides proficiency in 2 skills of your choice. That's completely missing here, so undoubtedly the BG3 version of this race is weaker. You get 3 subclass options. High half-elves get 1 cantrip just like high elves. Your party members Jaheira and Shadowheart are both high half-elves. Half wood elves get increased movement speed and proficiency in stealth just like wood elves. Finally, Drow half-elves get Drow magic, which again provides dancing lights, fairy fire, and darkness as you level up. Next we have Halflings. In Tabletop, they get a +2 bonus to Dexterity, while each subclass provides a +1 bonus to one particular ability. Therefore, they are not negatively impacted by the ability points change. Their base racial speed is only 7.5 meters, so they are slower than most other races. They do get Lucky, which is triggered when you roll a 1 on an attack, ability check, or saving throw. You can re-roll the die, although you must use the new result, regardless of what it is. Very nice, and you are sure to use this all the time. You also get Brave, which provides advantage on saving throws against being frightened. The frightened status prevents you from moving, along with giving you disadvantage on ability checks and attack rolls. Definitely something to be avoided, and this is nice to have. Missing from this list is the tabletop feature Nimble, which allows halflings to move through the space of any creature that is of a size larger than them. I imagine it would be difficult to visually represent this without a ton of clipping, so its exclusion doesn't surprise me. You have 2 subclass options to choose from. Lightfoot halflings get naturally stealthy, which provides advantage on stealth checks, perfect for rogues or gloomstalkers that prefer working from the shadows. Strongheart halflings, also known as stout halflings, get Strongheart resilience, providing advantage on saving throws against poison and resistance to poison damage. Once again, poison damage comes up all the time, so this is great to have in your repertoire. Next up we have Gnomes. In Tabletop, this race provides a +2 bonus to Intelligence and a +1 bonus in one other ability depending on what subrace you select. So BG3's ability point system just provides flexibility. They have a base racial speed of 7.5 meters, so you are slower than most other races. Gnomes also get Gnome Cunning, which provides advantage on Intelligence, Wisdom, and Charisma saving throws. Several nasty crowd control effects target wisdom, so this is really nice to have. You also get 3 subclass options. Rock Gnomes get Dark Vision, which we have already talked about. They also get Artificer's Lore, which doubles your proficiency bonus to history checks. During my playthrough, I never felt like history was a must-have skill, but it does give you additional dialogue options, so this isn't bad to have. Forest Gnomes also get Dark Vision, along with Speak with Animals. This spell will allow you to speak with animals, and there are a ton of them in the game. These conversations can provide XP, clarify how to complete quests, and are oftentimes hilarious. There are scrolls and potions that will provide the same effect, but this is still nice to have. Last on the list are Deep Gnomes. In Tabletop, similar to Githyanki, you can either take the +2/+1 bonuses or increase 3 different abilities by 1. Once again, there's a loss of flexibility here, but it's not very impactful. Deep Gnomes are Underdark creatures, but they are not feared the same way Drow or Dwargar are. They are also known for being very guarded and suspicious. The race gets Superior Darkness, which is awesome as we've already discussed, and they get Stone Camouflage, which provides advantage on stealth checks and is a great thing to have on a stealth-based character. Next on the list is Dragonborn. This race was previously enslaved by dragons, and now they value self-sufficiency. Dragonborn are very rare in the Sword Coast, so you get a lot of unique reactivity along with dialogue options that reflect a proud race which still bears deep disdain for dragons. In tabletop, they get a +2 bonus to strength and a +1 bonus to charisma. Therefore, the BG3 version is stronger, since now you can place those bonuses wherever you like and have a lot more flexibility in what classes work well with this race. They have a base racial speed of 9 meters. Dragonborn has 10 sub-races that are all different colors. This is irrelevant since you can still change your color to whatever you like within the editing appearance screen. The sub-race also provides you with a breath attack that does 2d6 damage of a particular element, and enemies can pass a save to only take half damage. When Baldur's Gate 3 first launched, the attack was quickly rendered irrelevant, but after patch 1, the damage scales as you level up, and it uses Constitution as a saving throw, providing you with yet another way to ensure the attack does solid damage. Finally, you also get Draconic Ancestry, which makes you resistant to a particular element, cutting its damage in half. The element of your breath attack and resistance is based on which subrace you choose. It should also be noted from a visual standpoint, this race interacts directly with the Draconic Bloodline subclass. Whatever ancestor you pick will provide another layer of color for your character. Last on the list is Half-Orcs. In tabletop, they get a +2 bonus to strength and a +1 bonus to constitution, so they are another race where you have more flexibility than before. They also have a base racial speed of 9 meters. Half-Orcs get dark vision, which we have already discussed, and relentless endurance, which is triggered when you reach 0 hit points and automatically gives you 1 hit point instead of becoming downed. This absolutely makes you more tanky, and it's really nice for any character, but most especially helps a frontline fighter. You'll also get Savage Attacks, which is triggered when you land a critical hit with a melee weapon, and it adds 1 extra dice of weapon damage. Again, this is fantastic on a melee-oriented character, and there's a strong case to be made that Half-Orcs make the best frontline fighters in the game. Finally, this race also gets Menacing, which provides you with proficiency in the Intimidation skill, the cherry on top of a very nice package. That's all the information I have on the various races and how they differ from their tabletop counterparts. If you have additional notes that I missed, please let me know in the comments below. Hope all of you enjoyed this video. Take care!